Do you guys hear that? I think it's the sound of Maleficent in her dragon form. Oh no! Hey everyone, welcome back to the Mines. My name is Rainy. Today I'm going to be fully decorating the Forgotten Lands in Disney Dreamlight Valley. Y'all, I've been so excited about adding that touch of Halloween magic to our valley. I can't believe I didn't start this build until now, but I'm also okay with it because we got so many amazing items with this new star path. So if you guys enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and let's get into the spooky season. I decided to start off with this treehouse in the Forgotten Lands. It was kind of the first challenge because you cannot move this building. I don't know if Gameloft ever plans on changing this in the future, so you kind of have to work with it and find ways to incorporate it into your build. I decided to use these castle wall pieces from the premium shop to kind of make it seem like there used to be a giant fortress that used to reside in the Forgotten Lands. I use a lot of trees in here as well, different trees and bushes, to kind of make it seem like nature had reclaimed the land after the fortress was taken down. So for the Forgotten Lands, I decided to split it up into 3 different sections. So this section we're working on right now is going to be a fall, autumn, Halloween town area. And then we're also going to have a villainous, spooky area. And then finally, the third area is going to be a medieval kind of magical area. So right now I'm working on the pathing. I decided to go with this sun-baked pathing because I thought it just really screamed autumn and it looked really well next to these houses. I have the Wilted Flower Cottage and the Cozy Halloween Cottage, which I thought were perfect over here. And then I used this clock tower with the books flying around it. This item was in the premium shop. I do want to point out that for the clock tower, you cannot purchase more of them from Scrooge's. Hopefully they will change this in the future, but I thought I would include that in here in case you guys were considering purchasing it. So we are now on the second day of this Forgotten Lands build, and little did I know then that this was only going to be the beginning. There was so much spiraling here. When I tell you guys, this was way worse than any Dream Snap because it's a whole biome that you're designing. So there was a lot of spiraling and a lot of deleting and rebuilding. I do feel like in the end though, this build really did turn out a lot better than I originally expected. So right here, I'm adding this little reading nook for the villagers. I figured since we have Merlin in the Forgotten Lands, it'd be nice to just have this a little corner for the villagers to come hang out around this little campfire and read their favorite book, or you know, there might be some spell books if someone wants to do a little bit of magic and casting. Over here I'm adding this other entrance or exit, whichever way you're coming into the biome, and then I'm just adding some more trees. And then we have to go ahead and connect the path so it goes over this way. I do like my paths to curve. I feel like I've gotten pretty decent at doing that. I don't use the diagonal pathing as much as I should. I know that they added that. And I've gotten comfortable with the way that I decorate my pathing, and it works. So I'm not gonna complain about it. And then I added these like orange lights and I really love them. Also added some decor around the pond, added some more pumpkins because, you know, hello, this is an autumn Halloween area. There needs to be pumpkins everywhere. And then I love this like glowy cocoa rug. I think it just really makes this area pop. Whenever I am designing any area in my valley, I do like to walk around my build as I am building it just to make sure I can access all of the essential places like the mining nodes and the fishing spots. Then I just finished up the day by adding these glowing lights around the treehouse. The one thing that I will say about designing this area in particular, it was a challenge. I would have to say we deleted everything at least twice, and I don't know why. It was just hard designing this little extra area by the fairy godmother. I have no idea why. I think it was just kind of like a middle ground between our fall autumn area and the dark villain area that I was wanting to do. And so I didn't really have a clear vision. I was just kind of putting down items and hoping that it would look good at this point. We do end up changing the pathing to match the fall autumn area, so I feel like that actually helped a lot to blend the areas kind of together. I mean, some of the areas we did keep, like the little pumpkin garden to the side. I thought that was really nice, and then the Mickey pumpkin seating area, I thought that was actually turned out really good. So some of the things we did keep, but yeah, this was definitely one of the toughest areas for me to design. At this point in the build, I figured it was time to switch gears and work on a different area, so I decided to start working on the villainous area. For this section, we have the Nightmare Castle and we have the Dark Cottage, and I'm using my imagination here and pretending like Maleficent lives here in the Forgotten Lands. I really wish she came with a house like Aurora, so I could move her here, but unfortunately she's stuck in the Storybook Vale, so we just kind of have to use a little bit of imagination here. She lives in the Forgotten Lands, okay? This whole section is dedicated to Maleficent. So there's a lot of purple colors here. And then right here, I decided to create this little grave site. I've never done one of these before, but I've seen other people do this, and I knew I always wanted to have one in the Forgotten Lands, which I think we did okay. I think for me doing this my first time, I think we did all right. And then eventually I do want to get the Whimsy companions to have them walking around the gravesite. I think that would be really cool. And then I'm just trying to experiment with these hedge pieces around the Dark Cottage. And as you can see, I kind of switch back and forth. I'll work by the cottage for a little bit, and then I'll start working on a different section whenever I run into like a creative bump where I'm just not getting any inspiration. I'll just kind of switch gears and kind of start working on another section. That's just kind of how I work whenever I'm stuck. Sometimes if you focus on a different area, you know, some new ideas will come to you later for the other sections. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. I use this Change of Fate rug by the castle, and I thought that looked really nice. And then I decided to start working on the pathing from the entrance leading over here by the Dark Castle. Working on the pathing over here seemed to be a little bit of a challenge. I don't like my pathing to stay straight for too long, and I felt like it was doing that a little bit here. But I think it's okay. I think in the end, with all of the different items we use, it ends up looking okay. So this is technically day 3 of me working on this build, but there was a long pause between day 2 and day 3. Basically, I took a long pause because we got the new update with the Wishful Thinking Star Path. And as you know, that Star Path had a lot of really good Halloween items. And this is one of them right here, the greenhouse walls. Such an amazing item, and this was really my first time like experimenting with them. So basically I was trying to redo this little area I had with the multiplayer portal, and I was trying to fit in these greenhouse walls, and this was a big challenge, trying to figure out what size I wanted it to be, how I wanted the layout to look. and trying to make it so it didn't take over too much of our autumn area. I just wanted this to be a little space for the multiplayer portal to be in. My biggest advice to any of y'all that are decorating with these major building pieces is just kind of play around with them and you know, go to like a floating island and just bring out all the pieces and see what you can do with them and what you can create, and then bring that into your build. There's definitely a lot of different layouts and different build designs you could do with these. I love that ddlv is adding these building pieces to the games, like the castle wall pieces and the greenhouse walls. I hope they continue to do this. I love to see what the community creates out of this. And I feel like for what I was trying to accomplish, we finally got there. After spending so much time working on those greenhouse walls, I was basically at my wit's end for the day, but I decided to work on the spooky villainous area a little bit more. So I'm just adding some different items. I added like these fiery thorn trees that look really cool at nighttime. And then I decided to dress up this pond area a little bit. I like the ponds to just kind of feel like there's more going on in here instead of it just being a blank body of water. So I ended up adding some reeds, I had some fencing, some little hedge pieces, different foliage here and there, just to really bring this area to life. You'll see here I randomly pull out this dragon statue, and that honestly became the inspiration for our medieval area. While I was decorating, I also stumbled across this other dragon statue that we ended up putting next to this flame, which I think is really nice. And then I added all of these lights all over the villain area, and then I added some lights over to our fall area as well. We are now officially on day 4 of this build, and I really feel like I needed a break. I needed some time to step away. I felt like we actually got a lot done on this day. I was not playing around anymore. So I decided I wanted to use the greenhouse walls as our divider between the spooky area and the fall area. And I feel like this is actually a really good transition point. I think this is what we needed to really separate and divide the two areas, so you're not really seeing the other area when you're on one side. I think it does such an amazing job at just separating the two areas and making them their own so they can really just kind of breathe on their own. I added some trees. I changed up the pathing by Fairy Godmother's house to match the rest of the fall area. I've been loving using these inauguration ribbons. I recently got them in my Scrooge store, which I was so happy about. So I kind of use that a little bit, you know, here and there all around this build, just because I was so happy that I finally got that item. And then you'll see I use these like green doors by the greenhouse walls. I actually got that idea from Decorista here on YouTube. I was in one of her live streams and I saw her do that and I was like, oh my gosh, this looks amazing. Y'all make sure to get subscribed to Decorista if you are not already. She's an amazing content creator on YouTube. I'll make sure to have a link to her channel in the description below. Right here, I'm just cleaning up this entry area from where I originally had a different build over here. Again, there was a lot of spiraling in this build, guys. Like, let me tell you. I decided to add these purple archways with the floating candles, another amazing item from the Star Path. Y'all, there was so many good items in this wishful thinking Star Path. It's definitely one of my favorites. And then I'm just going through here adding some of these dead bushes because I wanted this area to feel kind of like it was burned down a little bit, like there was a big dragon, you know, because Maleficent lives here. So it's like she came through here and she kind of wreaked havoc on this side of the land. I also added this cooking station right next to our grave site area. And you can actually see that I do switch my time of day settings a lot. I like to see how things are looking at nighttime, especially with all the lights that we have. And you'll actually see a little bit of that glowy, fiery tree that I was talking about earlier. It looks so good at nighttime. And then I added some more lights to really just kind of complete this area. I was feeling really good about this villainous area at this point. The only other thing I really did was kind of dress up the area by the Nightmare Castle. I added some inauguration ribbons. I added a crafting table. And then I also added the haunted well, which actually came in the trick-or-treat event. This item is amazing. It looks great, and you can also turn it on and off to have the raven birds flying around it, which I think is so cool. Then I just added some floating candles, and that was pretty much it for our villainous section. So now we're finally taking the time to work on this medieval section, and I actually really love how this turned out. I had no idea that I was even going to include a medieval section. I knew I wanted to have Merlin's house in this build somewhere, but I wasn't really sure how to fit him in, and I feel like having this like medieval like knights and dragons, I feel like it just fits so well with Merlin, and I actually really love how this area turned out. I think it's one of my favorites, besides the autumn area, of course, because we love fall and we love pumpkins. I finished up day 4 by filling up this empty space over here. I just added these stone pillars with the orange lights to complement our fall section, and then I just added some fencing to separate both sides. We are now officially on the final day of this project. Right now I am working on this little trick-or-treating area for the villagers. I figured they can come over here at any time of the year and do a little trick-or-treating and collect some candy and take some photos next to the creepy statue. I just gotta say that this build definitely challenged me. There was so much spiraling that took place. Experimenting with the new items from the star path and just trying to make this build original. It really forced me to step out of my comfort zones and learn some new things along the way. Overall, I am really happy with how this project turned out, and I really hope you guys like it as well. If you are enjoying the video, make sure to leave a like. I would super duper appreciate it, and also consider subscribing to the channel if you want to see more content. We do live stream this game. We also play some Palia, so I love to see some of y'all in the live streams as well. So right here we're going back over to the medieval section. I decided for the foliage I wanted to use a lot of blues and greens to kind of match the vibe of Merlin's house, because his house has the same colors. So I'm just filling up this area, and then I decided to add the castle wall here to kind of create this grand entrance. I also added some lighting and torches to just really give it this like fiery, glowy effect. I had a lot of fun decorating this area, and it honestly, like, once I had the idea of what I wanted this to be, I feel like the inspiration just really started popping off for this area. So I added some more lighting over here, added some bushes and foliage by Merlin's house. And then right here, I decided to create this little castle wall tower. I really like the idea of just all of these different crumbling castle pieces all around this area, and I love that Merlin is just in the center of this, and I try to imagine that he is doing a bunch of research on the area, and he's, you know, trying to figure out what exactly happened here. You know, this may have been where he used to live. Like, it's just I love it. I also use the castle walls here to separate our fall autumn section, so this medieval section could really just breathe on its own. And then I added these glowing blue lights from Eternity Isle. Also added some rocks, more foliage, and yeah, this area was pretty much done. It did not take me long at all to create the medieval section. I feel like that area came really easy. And then pretty much I'm just doing some final touch-ups. I added some more lighting, and that was it for the build.